So this is WP Roundtable number 4. We're interviewing Jesse Pollak from CLEF, and really excited because it's a great tool. Let's go through a quick introduction. You want to go first, Kellen?
Sure. My name is Kellen Mace, freelance web developer from the east side of Michigan area. Happy to be on today.
Kyle?
All right. I'm Kyle Maurer, co-founder and lead developer for Real Big Marketing based in Jackson, Michigan, and I'm also really glad to be here today.
All right. Well, I think we're all glad to be here today. I'm Jason Crawford, and independent designer out of Medellin, Colombia, and really excited. Jesse, take it over.
I'm Jesse Pollak. I'm one of the founders of CLEF, where I head up all things product, and I'm really unhappy to be here. No.
No.
I'm super excited to be here. This is my second time on a podcast with Jason. The last one was great. I'm sure this one will be just as good. And I'm, always happy to talk about CLEF and WordPress. It's my two favorite things in the world right now.
Nice. So you want to kind of get us started on what CLEF is and how you guys got to where you are today?
For sure. So CLEF is a replacement for passwords. We let users identify themselves with their phones instead of anything they need to type or remember. So what that looks like is basically when you sit down at your computer, you want to log into your website, you just hold your phone up, you're logged in. It's two-factor authentication. It's much easier to use than a password plus a one-time password like Duo or Google Authenticator or Authy. And we're really pushing on the WordPress community where we've seen a ton of adoption. So we started the company almost 2 years ago, back when I was in college with Mark, who's sitting next to me right now, coding, and Brennen, who's our CEO. And we were all at school in Ramona College, and then a year ago we left school. They both graduated. I dropped out. And we moved up to the Bay Area. We were in San Francisco for a bit. And now we're based in Oakland. And we've been hustling hard, just spreading CLEF. And we're about to cross 4,000 sites using CLEF for logins every day. We crossed 10,000 downloads in the plugin store the other day, which was awesome. And we're doing cool things, we like to think.
Nice. Why don't you give us a quick rundown of how everything works, if you wouldn't mind?
For sure. So, it's kind of hard to do a live demo when I'm talking to my computer. So basically the way CLEF works is you have an app on your phone, and then you have a WordPress plugin in your site. And so you go in, it's a one-click install, you hold your phone up, and on your phone there's this thing called the wave, and it kind of looks like this. And on your computer, there's a similar wave, and it kind of looks like this. And when you hold your phone up, you use the phone's camera, and we sync up the waves. And basically what that does is it transfers your identity from your phone to your computer. Jason's bringing up our site right now, which has a nice little demo on there. If you click the refresh button, top, bottom left, it'll do it. Right next, okay, that one too. Yeah, so you have this wave on your phone, you have a button on your computer, you basically just sync up the waves, and that's all it takes to log in. And this is two-factor authentication because you know a PIN to get into your phone and you have your device, so it's something you know and something you do. But it's much easier to use than remembering a horrible password and dealing with retyping in a little token on your computer. The way it actually works, so that's like the non-technical explanation. The way it actually works is we wrap something called public key cryptography, which is, that's a very broad category. We have a more specific implementation of public key cryptography called RSA. But basically, the way this works is there are two keys in the system. So one is a private key and one is a public key. And the private key we keep on the phone, and it never leaves the phone. And this can generate signatures, kind of like a human can generate signatures that anyone with the public key can verify, but the public key can't generate those signatures. So the really cool thing about that is that all of the private keys are stored and encrypted on the user's phones, and all the public keys are stored on CLEF servers. So even if someone were to get access to CLEF servers, they wouldn't be able to do anything because we only have the public keys. And the important thing is the private key. So this allows us to create a distributed architecture that doesn't have a lot of the same security flaws that usernames and passwords do.
Very cool.
Yeah, but really our whole goal with CLEF is to take like crypto systems like RSA and public key cryptography and wrap them in packages that make them really easy for people to use. So, sorry, and someone's coming in behind me. Yeah, so all of that is abstracted away from a user, and they just get the awesome experience of holding up their phone, getting logged into all their websites, and then when they walk away, you hit log out on your phone, you're logged out of all your websites. It's kind of just like the key that you use to lock and unlock your computer.
Well, guys, I know you guys had some questions. Who wants to start throwing them out there?
Kyle, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I've probably got a couple hours worth of questions, I'm sure. I'm really curious about some of this stuff, so I'm trying to decide where to start. First of all, like I've only recently been learning about CLEF a bit. It was a discussion this Saturday. I was at a WordCamp in Ohio and went to like some security talks and people were talking about CLEF, or I was asking about CLEF, and the guys there were like, CLEF's fantastic. You know, the security guys were like, we totally endorse it. It's really awesome. You know, we were talking about use cases like for security, how logging on to your site in public Wi-Fi, if you're not using SSL, it's a big security risk. And CLEF is a really great way to kind of secure yourself for that if you're not running SSL on your site. And so there were really good discussions around that, and there's just like all these fantastic problems that it solves, I think. So I want to learn more. I guess maybe the most appropriate place would be to start in the background, like the team behind CLEF, and how did you guys get started, and you know, where did the idea come from, and just the inception of this company.
For sure. So our CEO, Brennen, who was talked with Jason and me last time we did this, he was working at LinkedIn on their mobile team. I mean, at Adobe on their mobile team 2 summers ago, summer 2012. And he was just building a ton of apps, and like every day he was building 3 or 4 little apps, because at that time Steve Jobs had just killed Flash with his, you know, ominous letter. And Adobe was scrambling to try and figure out how they were going to identify users for ads on mobile phones. And so he was doing just like, how can we figure out how we're going to track people? How are we going to track these people without Flash? And right in the middle of his time there, LinkedIn lost all of their passwords. And we kind of consider that LinkedIn breach the beginning of the sort of era of breaches that had just amplified. You know, there are 2 breaches every day for the last 2 years. And that was kind of the beginning of this, and it was the first time that everyone kind of stepped back from the industry and was like, hey, passwords are a problem, and there's something we need to do something about it. And after a couple weeks, like, we kind of saw as everyone came back to the table, and what we saw was that we saw people say, hey, like, we're going to take passwords, and we know they're a security problem. What we're going to do is we're going to make them more secure by adding additional complication on top. So we're going to have hardware dongles, and we're going to have, you know, one-time passwords and text message-based things. And that's going to increase the security, but it's going to come at the cost that, you know, it's a pain in the ass for users to actually use. And Brennen was working on their mobile platform. Like for Adobe at the time, he was like, hey, there's got to be something better that we can do. So he went back to school, started working on his thesis, which was on usable security. Basically recruited me and Mark, who he'd known before, and we were on the same CS program. Recruited us to work with him on this. And, you know, we started messing around with prototypes around Bluetooth and NFC, and using the camera, and came out. We had like our first prototype of CLEF, you know, summer of 2012. I guess summer of 20. God, it's been so long. Yeah, summer of 2012. So LinkedIn was summer of 2011, actually. That's got mistake. But so we had our first prototype summer of 2012. And what we found, like we messed around with Bluetooth and NFC a lot, and ultimately what we found is that those were really cool technologies. And we're certain they're going to play into our architecture in the future, but they don't have the they're not nearly as distributed. You know, every phone has a camera and every computer has a screen. And with CLEF, like that's all that you need. With Bluetooth and NFC, you know, a lot of phones, almost no phones have NFC, especially not the iPhone. And you know, almost no computers have NFC. And all these new age communication technologies just aren't that distributed. They're not that prevalent. So we essentially wanted to find a way where we could, from the get-go, enter this market, provide a solution that was easier to use than passwords, was more secure than passwords, and provide it to pretty much everyone with a smartphone. And that's kind of what we set about doing. We were in school up until, you know, June of 2013, so June of last year. We launched, you know, June of last year with the CLEF Wave, and then, you know, started focusing on WordPress in July and August, and it's just been, you know, going since then.
That's awesome. So I'm curious a little bit, you know, we're all running WordPress businesses. I want to learn a little bit about the CLEF business, and what's, maybe give us an idea about like your monetization strategy. Like how does the work behind CLEF, and you know, it looks like you're early on in the company, and I'm reading a little bit on your website, like the e-commerce stuff, and it looks amazing. So what's running the business at CLEF, and what's the future, turning this into a big profitable company? Yeah,
for sure. So we were lucky enough to raise money last June from some early advisors or people in the Valley, and that's allowed us to kind of work where we are today. CLEF is primarily a free product, so we give it away to pretty much everyone in the WordPress community. Just in the last month, we've started adding professional tiers for agencies and freelancers, which add some additional features on top of the CLEF platform that make it easier to run, you know, 100 sites with CLEF. So really for power users of CLEF. And those are bringing in revenue for us now. We have about 20, 25 agencies signed up using CLEF, and you know, just as many, if not more, freelancers. So that's bringing in small revenue for us. In the next year, we're going to be signing more and more, you know, consumer-facing sites, bigger sites that are going to be paying more for us for CLEF, because, you know, on-site installation, hosted versions of CLEF, better support, better uptime guarantees, things like that. And those are going to be the real revenue generators for us in the short term. In the long term, we really see CLEF as a platform. You know, payments is something that we think fits very logically into the way that CLEF works. We did some kind of beta testing with that 6 or 7 months ago, and had an awesome response, but have just been pretty overwhelmed by logins for the moment, because we're still a really small team. But you know, in the next year, we're going to be bringing in we're just starting hiring now. If there are any WordPress people out there that love CLEF, love WordPress, we're hiring. There's the pitch. It's awesome technology. It's an early team. It's time to get in early. But you know, in the next year, we're going to be scaling out our engineering team, growing to 10 or 15 people, and building out the platform that's going to allow us to, you know, do payments, do digital signatures, do like actual physical space access, and that's also going to bring on revenue. But I'll be 100% honest. You know, we're not a company that's going to be. We're not a lifestyle business. We're not going to be profitable anytime soon. We're much more of the style of, you know, we need to go as fast as possible, and that's going to involve taking on more venture funding, which we're working on right now. We should be, you know, announcing some really good news soon. So that's like definitely the short-term goal, with like the obvious long-term revenue possibilities through, you know, enterprise deals and identity platforms.
Great. Yeah, that is awesome. So I'm curious, like, what maybe first, what's your role within CLEF, and what have you been doing?
For sure. So I've always been like a very product-centric person. So I love engineering. I love writing code. I was a CS major in school, but for me, it's always been like a means to the end. So I like building things, and I like building things for actual people. So inside of CLEF, my technical title is Chief Product Officer, but what that means day to day is I build everything. I have my hands in everything that a user interacts with. So I built the CLEF Wave. Brennen helped me design it. We came with that. But I implemented the CLEF Wave. I do all of our interaction stuff on the front end. Me and Brennen do a lot of our design. I run all of our support. I lead that team. I built the first version of our WordPress plugin. So pretty much anything that users are touching, that's kind of my domain. I'm lucky enough to have Brennen, who can actually run a company, and Mark, who's the best engineer I know, to worry about the other things. So I'm really lucky to get to focus on product and product development, which is amazing. Getting to just literally every day I talk to tens and tens of people that are using CLEF and being like, how can we make this better for you? I'm on the phone 3 or 4 times a day with customers, and just what can we do to make this better? What can we be doing better? What's not working? What's working well? And just refining that. Like for instance, right now we have. I don't know if you all set up CLEF on your sites before, but there's it's like a one click. So you sync your phone, then you click one button, and that's all you need to do. That's a long way from where it originally came from. Originally, you had to go to our site, create an application, copy and paste the keys, bring it back to your WordPress site, and then it would work. The next iteration of that was like a 4-step thing where you wrote the app name, wrote the domain, and then click submit, and then copy and paste the keys. And slowly we've just kind of refined that more and more and more. So it's really easy. So you just hold up your phone and it's done. And I'm actually working on right now making that even better. So in the next week we're going to be releasing the next version of that's going to make it so it's even more seamless, even more intuitive for new users to get on board with CLEF and understand what we do and why we're doing it.
Yeah, Jesse, we already talked about a lot of this stuff once before, but one of the things that really hit me was that it's not just WordPress. You guys didn't originally design it for WordPress, and the community kind of took hold of that. You told me, but where else can you utilize CLEF right now?
Yeah, so like you said, we didn't build CLEF originally for WordPress. We were lucky enough. I don't know if you all know David Michael Ross. He's awesome. He's an engineer at 10up. He built the first ever CLEF WordPress plugin. It's still his name as the author. And WordPress latched on to us, and we saw it was a place that we loved, and we've all been working with WordPress for a long time. And that's been awesome. Where else can you use CLEF right now? We have a Drupal plugin. It's not that great. We're about to release a Joomla plugin with the help of Anything Digital. That's going to allow people to add CLEF. Same WordPress experience in Joomla. I don't know if y'all saw, but in the New York Times in December covered essentially some of our other users who wanted to use CLEF everywhere. Facebook, Google, Twitter, etc. Built a Chrome extension that lets you just drop in CLEF for your passwords. You type in your passwords once, they're encrypted, stored in your browser, and you just get to sync your Wave, and then you get all the CLEF benefits. So essentially, right now you can use CLEF anywhere. Right now we're working and we're moving quickly on some bigger deals that are going to bring CLEF to financial management, and healthcare, and education. I can't announce those yet, but we're hoping to make a bigger splash soon. But really, our thought process is, there's a lot of trust required in building a security company, building an identity company, and we at our start we definitely struggled to find that trust and convince people that what we were building was trustworthy. Everyone loves the product; it's amazing, but you're a small company. You're not fully proven yet. So with WordPress and with Drupal and with Joomla and all of these communities where we can really interface directly with users and talk to our actual customers and sell them instead of selling big enterprises, we essentially want to build for those communities, love those communities, and use them as a leaping point to basically point them to hey, we have 100,000 people right now trusting us for their logins. It is logical that we can take the next step into consumer-facing stuff. So that's really where we're going to be going in the next year. Getting on bigger and bigger sites, bringing on bigger and bigger enterprise clients, and getting exposure. Millions and millions of users.
That's way cool. So it sounds like I know that for like a lot of businesses like this, you got to identify your target and how you want to promote and what user groups you're going to start with. And I was gonna ask like what direction you're going with that. Like a lot of people may go with like targeting the masses and growing like a huge base of users who request it upwards, or another business may go from the top and target like enterprise clients, implement it as large-scale solutions. If you're targeting like large-scale websites and online services, things like that. So it sounds like you're taking like the former approach where you're getting lots and lots of users and agencies implementing it at the WordPress level. And that's bringing it up. Are you approaching like enterprise level clients or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, the thing with CLEF is that we really need to be doing both at the same time. Without the user base, it's less valuable to sites. Without the site base, it's less valuable to user. So we basically want to be seeding the user base with as many people as we can through WordPress, through these communities. And then as we're building up that base, building up reputation, building up how much influence and power we have, then we're starting and we are being able to go to bigger clients and be like, hey, like look at all these people that are using CLEF. Like this is something that can make your life easier. It can make your users more secure, and it's not a pain in the ass for them. Like consumer two-factor solutions have super low adoption. If you look at Facebook, you look at Twitter. I've talked to people at all of these big companies that are implementing two-factor, and consumer adoption is less than 1%, less than 0.1%. It's tiny, and there's a huge cost to that. Users have horrible password habits. For the most part, users are not that good at implementing secure practices. And if you only have a very, very, very small percentage of your users using two-factor, that means that there's a very, very large percentage of your users that are at risk. And when users get hacked and when users get in trouble, that's a cost for the businesses. They have support time, they have actual money loss because users can't bank accounts, etc. Selling them that, hey, we have a user base, but we can also bring more users to you. We can give you two-factor adoption of 10 to 20 to 30% rather than less than 1%, and make a huge swath of your users more secure, and take that risk out of your hands. That's like a big sell to businesses.
Cool. So I have one for you, Jesse.
Yeah, for sure.
How about the thing I was kind of thinking about related to CLEF and the Wave, right? As what matches up, to the mobile device and ultimately logs the person in. It's very reminiscent of like verifying your email, right? If you sign up for a new service online and they email you a link, click the link, and then you've just verified that that's your email. My first thought was, in building an app like this one, it seems that you could do something similar, right? Send that link from your servers to their app on their mobile device, and then they click a button or a link to send that signal right back to your servers. Yeah. What benefit does using the Wave to match it up? What benefit does that have over just clicking that button or that link?
For sure.
You know what I mean?
So, yeah, no, totally. I totally get it. There's actually a company called LaunchKey. I don't know if y'all have seen them. They do something. They're doing password-based authentication as well, and they do something similar to that. So on your computer, you type in your username, get a push notification to your phone, and then you swipe to approve access, and that logs you in on your computer. What we saw, we did a ton of testing around this in the early stages of our company, and when we created CLEF, we really wanted to create a super intuitive experience. So we wanted it to feel like you were presenting your phone to your computer, and that was lucky. That was all that it took. With things like push notifications, and to be honest, our first implementation of CLEF, which used QR codes, the problem with that was that when you have a QR code on a page, you have a push notification on your page. What this requires is, and the way the mental model forms, is it feels like a user is taking their phone, they're taking some information from their computer, and that's going to their phone. They're doing an action on their phone, and then they're being logged in on their computer. And this, back and forth is something that is really hard to form a mental model around. So users didn't get how that worked. You know, they saw the phone taking a picture of their QR code, and then they saw their phone doing something, and they were like, so am I logged in on my phone now? Like, what's going on here? They didn't get that it was going back. They saw this one and not going back. And so being able to, you know, with the wave, essentially like animate and craft and mold how users feel about our experience means that we can shape a mental model. We can shape their models. Now when users first see CLEF, you know, they hold their phone up to their computer and they see the wave, the bars essentially move from their phone to their computer, and that's just something that people just get. You know, it clicks in their head that, okay, something is transferring. The signature, the wave signature is moving from my phone to my computer. And that's something we've seen has just like completely changed our game, and we think it's the most intuitive way to build an identity platform. You know, making all of the movement be from the phone to the computer rather than having a back and forth. You know, we also don't want people typing on their computer. We think that that's just one more like it's just like one more unintuitive thing.
Right. Yeah, that's very cool. Maybe one more I'm thinking of. You know, with anything security related, you think of, you know, how could it possibly be compromised? It sounds like you guys have a really great system about, you know, separating the public and private keys, as you already discussed, right? Maybe one more thought I was having is, you know, in order if I use CLEF on all my sites, you know, eventually if it really takes off, gains popularity, and a lot of services are using it, you know, if I use it for most everything, let's say it's so popular that people are even familiar with that app. You know, they see my phone and know that what that CLEF app is for. You know, would somebody be able to, you know, steal a mobile device, let's say, and then based on two things, based on being able to just, you know, click that CLEF app to open that up and search their browser history, they would know, you know, A, what types of sites this person goes to, and B, all I have to do is tap CLEF and hold up the phone, and I'm home. For sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. So
there's something I'm overlooking there. I don't know.
So one thing that you're overlooking, like this isn't overlooking at all. So there's a pin on the app that you need to pin in before you can sync. That's you know, we really consider that a temporary hold, and it's just one of what will in the future be many more temporary holds. And basically, the way we think about CLEF is that people are rarely losing or having their phone stolen, and when you lose your phone, you store your phone, you go online and deactivate your phone, and then everything's wiped. And then you reactivate on your device and everything transfers over. So there's that intermediate time between when you lose your phone and when it's wiped. And we essentially want to be building a platform that optimizes for, that makes that intermediate time very hard for someone to compromise your device. So we want to be adding a PIN, we're working on adding geolocation. So basically we can tell when it's not you, and prevent that sort of access so that you can safely, you know, deactivate and reactivate on your device. But it's definitely like that's to be honest, like that is the attack vector that CLEF is vulnerable to. You know, it's also like your friend next door that can steal your phone, guess your PIN, your coworker, guess your PIN, you know, log into your sites. For us, we think that those problems are you know, I think we think we're doing a pretty good job with them now, and we can do a much better job in the future. But for the most part, like that sort of compromise and that sort of attack isn't what's really dangerous on the web right now. You know,
right?
More likely, it's going to be a bot that's brute forcing your WordPress site and adding spam there than your girlfriend or boyfriend who wants to get revenge on you. And optimizing for like that 99% case where people are attacking from the other side of the world is much more important for us than optimizing for like the threat model of your ex-romantic partner who's mad. But obviously we're working on both, but really creating like a secure solution for 99% of the cases that don't involve angry friends is what we're going for.
All right. Cool. Great answer. I have one more thought on that note. That is, I know you're familiar with Citrix. For logging into remote desktops.
Yeah, of course.
Super popular tool. A lot of corporations use, right? I know what they for their iOS apps, and I would assume Android too. They actually require that your device itself has an unlocked password. Mm-hmm. Right. So if you try to install Citrix and connect to your corporate, remote desktop or whatever it is, it won't let you connect to anything unless your device itself, has a password on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Would ever consider that, I wonder? And would that save the step of inputting it once you get into the app?
Yeah. I think
just a thought. So.
No, totally. That's something we've thought about a lot. The other thing we've thought about a lot is, right now with people with newer phones like the 5S with the fingerprint scanner, people have to fingerprint scan and then they have to CLEF.
Right.
And that's a pain in the ass. So as technologies on the device mature, and as we can detect when those technologies and when they aren't used, and as we build, to be honest, as we build out our engineering team, so we have more engineering throughput essentially, so we can implement a bunch more of these features. We're definitely going to be adding things that make things more secure and more convenient. I talked about GPS briefly, but the basic idea behind there is that we know where you are supposed to be. We know where your house is. We know where your office is. We can essentially layer on GPS as the third factor. Are you in the right place? Or we can take away the PIN and have it as a second factor. If you're in your office, you don't need to type in your PIN. So finding ways to increase security, increase usability with the ability of the devices that our users have is sorry, trains, but
no problem, man. No problem.
Is at the top of our priorities. But right now we're still a really small team, and we don't have the engineering person power right now to do that. So as we're scaling out that team, we're hiring. We're definitely doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
No problem. My pleasure. This is great. Am I talking too fast? I feel like I talk at like 1,000,000 miles an hour sometimes.
No, you're good. You're good.
It's a lot of information to cram into so much good information. I would love to keep talking about this, and I've still got more questions. I guess I'd like to know maybe a little bit more about the CLEF team and who's involved. You said you guys are working with 10up, and they're super awesome. They've got all the dream team of WordPress folk, and so I'd love to know how you get working with them and who's on your team and what you guys were doing BC before CLEF, and I'd love to hear.
That's great. I've never thought of that before. BC. That's nice. Yeah. So at 10up, we're not working in any official capacity with them. One of their engineers, David Michael Ross, loves 10up. He built the first CLEF plugin, just on the side before we'd even thought to build CLEF for WordPress. He still helps out, contributes, comments on our GitHub issues. We probably had 10 contributors to our plugin right now. All sorts of people from the community, some people from Woo themes, some people from 10up, some people from Web Dev Studios, all sorts of people who just kind of love CLEF and want to give back. So we're so thankful for people like that. We wouldn't have been able to come this far without their input and feedback and development help. In terms of our team, Mark, you want to pop in and say hi?
Hey everyone.
Hey, Mike.
I can't hear, but it's nice to meet you.
That's Mark. He's our CTO. He did a CS major at Maurer College. One of the best CS programs in the country. Super small, but it's a joint CS program with Harvey Mudd, which many consider to be the best engineering school in this country. And it's just I got through 2 years there, and I learned so much. He did full 4. He worked at Minted and Ning, 2 pretty popular Bay Area startups before this, and has been coding since he was 14?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that, 14. So he runs all things technical. He's hiring. I'm heading up this WordPress hire right now, but he's hiring mobile engineers and infrastructure engineers, so system uptime, continuous integration, that sort of things. Anyone out there listening, mobile engineer, systems engineer, we're looking. Yeah, so that's Mark, and then Brennen, who's not here, he's our CEO. He also did a CS major. He's double CS English major. So it's our senior year, or his senior year of college, the fall, and he's like, hey, we need to get moving on CLEF. This is so exciting. We made so much progress. I want to finish school early. So he decided end of the summer before the senior year that he was going to finish school in finish a year and half a year. He wrote a CS thesis and an English thesis in a year. It was insane, all while running, a company from the dorm room. And then he graduated early, came up here by himself, hustled for 6 months, so that when me and Mark came up, we had money, we had an apartment, we had an office, we had everything, and we were able to just dive right in. So he is the most hustler of the hustlers. He just is always out there shaking hands and he was an engineer. I don't know how he does it. I often cringe at going to meetings and going to happy hours and things like that. He's just always talking to people, always just selling CLEF no matter where we are, and been amazing things. None of us had a network. We were in school. None of us came from families that were in Silicon Valley. We moved up here. Our first advisor is the daughter of his grandmother's bridge partner, who we met randomly. And it's she worked at early Google. She brought on a few other people, and then he's hustled for all of our investment, everything. It's just been amazing to have a partner that can takes almost all of that load off of me and Mark, so we can focus on actually building the technology and making that happen. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, I'm lucky. But yeah, I mean that is the team right now. We're 3 full-time. We have a couple part-time people who help us with some of the business side of stuff. Some modeling, some investment advising, some lawyering. But the 3 of us part-time, we're going to be growing to 8 in the next 6 months, and we're looking for people who are fucking awesome. Who want to build an awesome product and empathize with everyone. So people who understand that everyone is not like themselves, and everyone is different. Everyone has different needs, and the way people approach CLEF and the way people approach their lives is different depending on what your background is and who you are, and can take that sort of empathy and ability to interact with real people and put it into creating something that takes the most complex security ideas, boils them down, and packages them in something that anyone can understand, anyone can use, and anyone can feel safe using. So it's going to be a crazy next 6 months as we scale out that team and build out this product. Right now it's we sat down. The 3 of us went on a little workcation. Got up in the woods and in the woods outside of Oakland for a weekend. And we sat down. And we were okay, let's say how are we going to get to V1 of CLEF? How are we going to get to the real production launch? All of the features we actually want. We mapped it out, and we have 30+ person years of product development time before we even get to where we actually want to be right now. Not even thinking about support, not even thinking about other applications of CLEF. Just how are we going to get to what we actually envision this product to be. So building out the team and building out the company that can do that. Do that in a year, not 30 years, because if it's 30 years, I'm gonna be dead. It's gonna be crazy.
That's awesome. That's really funny. That's so cool that you mapped it out and you can quantify that or put.
Yeah, it was really hard to do. It's not something. It's not a It's, to be honest, it's not something I'm used to doing. And it's really hard because software estimates are not something that we are good at doing. Every time we estimate how long something's going to take, it's always 2x. But we look back at our commit logs, we look back at our brainstorming efforts, and look back at past features that we built, and mocked out how future implementation things would parallel those past things that we built. How much could me and Mark do, and then if we added a few other people, obviously we can't scale linearly, but if we had 5 people, we can get 3 or 4 more of me and Mark's. Not because those people are amazing, but just because as you grow an engineering team, it's not a linear growth. Every person you hire doesn't just add 1 more. There's all these things around building, communication that is actually like makes it much harder. And after like sitting down, it was like 2 solid days of just sitting at a table by a fire, just like writing the shit down. We came out and we're like, okay, 30 years, let's do it. It was pretty funny. Then we went on a long walk. And it snowed 1.5 feet, and we were outside for like 3 hours. We climbed to the top of this little hill. And it was just like, okay, we have a long way to go, but like, we've come so far, and it's just going to keep on getting better. It was a weird weekend. It was pretty awesome though.
That's a good story. I like that.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty cool. So it sounds like way cool. Like you guys definitely have the vision, and that's like really, really promising. I think, and says a lot, like about you as an organization, as a startup and stuff, and that you could just have like so much vision, like a really, really solid plan for what you're gonna do, and with that much left ahead, and you guys have only been doing it for just a couple of years. And with that much in the future, with that big brand of a vision, and you're already doing so well, it just says really promising things, I think.
Thanks, man. That means a lot. We're really excited, but we're also scared a lot of the time, just because there's so much to do, and there's so much. There's so many other factors that determines how you do as a company, and how you succeed. So we're trying our hardest to stick to our vision and stick to our product and keep on building something that people love. And we're confident that if we do that, everything else is going to work itself out.
Wow, it's great. It's great. You guys are. It looks like you're well past an MVP.
Sometimes it feels like not. When we're getting the bug reports. That's. But yeah, it's come a long way. Jeez, it's so much better now than it was 6 months ago. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's way cool.
Cool.
So,
Yeah.
I'm curious a little bit about like what you're looking for, or what you would, what your message is to developers out there. Do you have like I imagine you've got an API. Are you like encouraging or looking or seeking out people that continue like expanding applications that incorporate CLEF? Like the other people write extensions for the CLEF plugin. Are there other software to use CLEF? Encouraging people to just independently integrate with it in some fashion.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like we're always talking to people about implementing CLEF. I was talking. Y'all know what PeopleSoft is?
PeopleSoft.
Yeah, I don't know either, but it's something. It's something, and I send an email to every user that signs up, and this guy wrote back. He's like, "Oh my God, I love CLEF. Like, I'm going to implement it into my PeopleSoft application." I was like, "Okay, I know nothing about PeopleSoft, but like, I'm here. Here's my phone number. Here's our chat room. We're always around. We're always around to help." And I don't know anything about PeopleSoft. I don't even know what that is. But like, I'll help you with that. So we always have people doing that. We're really excited working right now with Dick Drover, who's on the board of Joomla. I know it's not WordPress, but Joomla is an awesome platform too. And he runs a company called Anything Digital. They built an awesome sort of like Joomla management thing called Watchful. And they've been working with us. They're just doing an amazing job building the CLEF version of CLEF, the Joomla version of CLEF for WordPress. They just, they're excited about CLEF. They love it. They think that their users are going to love it, and it's been amazing. So we're always excited to have people hacking on our APIs, figuring out what can be better, and bringing CLEF to more people. Every application, every developer that takes CLEF and builds it into something that a user can use is essentially spreading something that we think is better for the web. We think it's has the potential to change and really make possible the modern web that we want to think about. Where all of our information is always accessible, but it's also always secured. In 5 years, I don't think that's going to be possible with just passwords. Computers are getting stronger, human brains are staying the same. Hackers are getting better at solving these problems of like essentially breaking down using computers to break and beat the human mind, and building something and distributing something that makes that internet sustainable, where we really can be putting all of our personal information and our photos and our messages and our banking information and our money on the web, and be accessing it without it being a huge pain in the ass. We love anyone who's willing to help us spread that gospel. Sorry for the religious comparison there. That was like too startup-y. Just like, okay. CLEF is not a religion. CLEF is a product. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I like that a lot. I guess I've got another one thing that I want to get a sense for a little bit. I'm curious that there's an awesome emphasis on security, because CLEF just like hits it out of the park in that sense, and there's a desperate need for it. There's serious flaws in our traditional security protocols. Just this paradigm that we're stuck in, and CLEF kind of like just knocks that away. And so the emphasis right now, it comes across to me as like authentication and security. Is there any the thought of like other, I don't want to say directions, but other like applications for this CLEF technology, like maybe convenience tools? Like I love you talking about like the e-commerce stuff that makes like checkout easy, and it says on the site it's in beta. I'm starting to envision things like, I don't know, event registration. Just zap it on your phone and get your ticket or whatever. Like really convenient applications for this awesome software and app that you have written. Which would be kind of like another emphasis versus security. As the core purpose for this, as another application for CLEF. Would you think about that as like a division, or are you even going that way at all?
Oh, that is the vision. I mean, so our basic thesis is that as we expand to a more consumer market where it's not people, even in WordPress, even though it's like not that technical, like WordPress as a tech community is not that technologically savvy. But as a user community, it's still pretty technologically savvy. Like these are people who set up their own websites, which the vast majority of people have never done. And there, people get their sites hacked and they understand the importance of security. But as we expand into a more consumer market, we're not convinced that security sells. I've had so many conversations, and a lot of people are like, yeah, I use like the same password for everything. No one's going to hack my accounts. Like, if I do, I'll deal with it later. Because really, security is like the way I think about it is it's like an insurance policy. So you can implement secure practices, and every secure practice you implement, it costs a little upfront. It costs energy, it costs thought, but it saves you energy on the long run because you're less at risk to be breached. On the flip side, you can not implement any secure practices. It's not going to cost you anything upfront. It's going to be super easy to use. But in the long run, you have a lot of risk that some catastrophic event could happen, and you can lose a lot of money, you can lose a lot of time. And on the consumer market, I'm not sure that people are thinking about those sorts of things. So they're much more concerned with like, how can I reduce my pain and friction right now, not like what is happening in the long run. The mental model to form that pros and cons thing around security, I'm not sure it's there. So selling on the convenience is essentially what we want to do. We want to build a solution, a login platform, and an identity platform, an everything platform that is super easy to use. Everyone wants to use it. Everyone loves to use it. Everyone shows off. Their friends come over and they say, "Hey, dude, check this out. This is CLEF." And then, kind of in the back door, as we're selling them this awesome, beautiful thing, then we slip in the security, and we're like, "Hey, don't worry about it. We got this covered. You worry about seeming cool and feeling cool, and we'll worry about everything else." So, like, taking that attitude as we expand to the consumer model, like the consumer market is going to be, I think that's how we're going to do it. And then, like, as we build out our development team, as we build out our platform, allowing people who are excited about CLEF to build these things on top. I'm not sure that CLEF is ever going to build an event management platform, but our platform can be extended. We can make it so people can do anything with CLEF. They can send arbitrary data with CLEF. They can hook into any APIs they want that would basically allow them to build their own event check-in thing on top of the CLEF platform, or their own digital signing thing on top of the CLEF platform, or even their own payments thing on top of the CLEF platform. So we essentially build this underlying layer of awesomeness and then allow people to build additional layers of awesomeness on top of that, and all the while we're tricking them that this base layer is actually like much more secure than anything they're used to.
So much awesomeness in one episode.
I
can't believe it.
You might think that I like this company. You might think it's my entire life. It's crazy.
I think we've just stumbled upon a new slogan or tagline for CLEF. It would be like disguising security as awesomeness.
Disguising security as awesomeness. I love it.
How about it?
It's really cool. Like I love what you say though. It comes across like you guys. You built a great product. You had like a genius idea. It's really awesome, undisputed. But like on top of that, I think it's so cool that you guys like come across as like a very mature organization. For a startup. With like such a grand vision and a really good, it seems, understanding of your market and your users' needs and how they perceive value. And so you said yourself, well, security is hard to sell. It makes me think of like, the older guy I know who goes to the doctor and the doctor prescribes to exercise. And like that's not what I wanted.
Right,
make it easy. You can't. Security is like that. That's not what people want to do. They don't get excited about that and they take it for granted. And so it is tough to sell. It's tough to emphasize that to people. So I'm curious about how you're complementing your business with our selling points.
Yeah. And to be honest, like I don't think there's anything that special about us. I think that when you are in the trenches working on a product, heads down for 2 years, and I've poured literally like the last 2 years of my life into this thing. And I've had hundreds of thousands of conversations, like sync the CLEF wave hundreds of thousands of times. Like it just becomes, it's all I think about. I'm constantly thinking about it. I feel like if I wasn't constantly thinking about it, I just like wouldn't do it. And when you constantly think about something all the time, and you're constantly talking about something all the time, it's like it's easy. It's easy to start to have these thoughts and start to see the way people interact with it, and the way they feel about it, like their visceral, emotional response to something that you do. And I think that it's awesome. It's awesome. It's special. It feels amazing, but it's like I don't think it's anything unique to us. I just think it's kind of what happens. Although you never know, maybe.
That's awesome.
I'm lucky. I wish Mark and Brennen were here. I mean, Mark is sitting next to me, but he's reading about Clojure and React right now. But we wouldn't have been able to do this without each other for sure. It's been like some of the most awesome times of my life for sure, because it's the most thrilling thing ever, building something that people are using and seeing that. It's also just been like far and away the hardest 2 years of my life, and more often than not, I'm going home like just completely freaked out about hitting the next milestone, whether we're going to be able to build this product on time, and like having a team has made that possible. Having users who are emailing us and there's some awesome people. Like Joe Wagner, you would know, but he built Waltz for us. He's like one of my really good friends now. I talk to him every day. He just loves CLEF. Lawrence has been there from the start. He'll pop into our chat room and just like share nice messages with us and like send us like a funny video or two. Just like having that sort of community of people that like get what we're doing and love what we're doing and like are willing to support us through like the good times and the bad times has made this possible. So thank you, everyone. We would not be able to do this without you. It means a lot.
It's cool. I'm looking at your pictures on your website, and I realized that I've met Brennen before at WordCamp Grand Rapids. He gave great talk. I really enjoyed his talk. It was awesome. I think it was on WordPress security and stuff like that. And so, where can we, find you guys online? And we see you at WordCamps, around the country or anything.
Yeah, for sure. So me and Brennen were just at WordCamp Minneapolis. I gave my first ever WordCamp talk. It'll be online soon. It was on Cryptography 101. I essentially, took the super basics of cryptography, explained them through metaphors, and then added a little math on top. And by the end, we built up, a very micro version of SSL that anyone could understand. People, from what I could tell, really like that talk. It'll be online in a bit. I know Brennan's going to be at WordCamp Chicago. I think he's going to be at WordCamp Seattle. We're going to be at all these WordCamps coming up. Hopefully, definitely San Francisco. Hopefully, someone else will be speaking there. And then online, obviously, you can find CLEF at getclef.com, GETCLEF.com. I think Jason's got it up right now. You can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Jesse Pollak, JESSEPOLLAK. I tweet reasonably frequently. All of us are always around to answer any questions. We have a public support chat room anyone can come hang out in. It's on our website. If you scroll to the footer, it's like the support chat or something. It's a hit chat link. We're always on Twitter at the GetClef. That goes directly to my screen and to Mark's screen and to Brennan's screen. And we're also all available at email. You can get me at jesse@getclef.com. You can get all of us at f@getclef.com. And we're always happy to answer questions, do support, just talk it up, talk WordPress. So yeah, that's CLEF, that's me. Super happy to have been here today. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. Yeah, thanks for joining us today. I'm really glad you guys come out and join us today. It's been a good one. I know these guys, especially Kyle, was really excited about this one.
Yeah, this is awesome. I talked a lot. Sorry about that.
All right.
All right, gents. Well, thank you, and I'm gonna wrap it up unless anybody's got anything else.
Good time.
All right.
Good.
Thanks, guys.
And Jason, will there be a link that's going to go out for this publicly posted or something I can share around, etc.? You got to get the Twitter going. You got to get the
YouTube link you got will be good in about 10 or 15 minutes after this closes
Awesome.
out. It'll go live, and then it's on our website as well.
Awesome. Super excited. Thank you so much for putting this together.
Thank you for coming.
Cool. Thanks, Jesse.
Later, guys. Have a good afternoon, evening, night.
You too.